what I'd like to share with you a little bit about my life and about first responders, and it may be a little bit different than we did in the first service. Mr. Wayne made me cry, but after graduation of high school, so I was about 17 years old, I had no idea what I wanted to do in life. I was lost. I was just fumbling around. I was not a good student, and I was lost at what I wanted to do in life. And I started volunteering as I was working at a lawnmower repair shop. I was volunteering as a volunteer firefighter with Switzerland Volunteer Fire Department up in the northwest part of the county. And quickly learned at the age of about 17 that they only had one paramedic, and usually he'd drive the rescue from wherever he was stationed at, to the scene, and the volunteers responded, but the volunteers got to drive the rescue where he could work on the people in the back. And that was neat because at 17 years of age, I got to run lights and sirens down 13 without traffic. Yeah, that was probably scary for the people in the back, I'm sure. But anyway, that was the most exciting time, and I knew that I was launching off into something. I didn't know what, but then one day I rode with a deputy, Randy McCullough, and did a ride along with him, and discovered that I got to wear a pager and answer the call and respond, but he got to be in the car, and if he was not responding or doing something, he got to generate activity. And luckily, nobody in here is the victim of us generating activity, I don't think. So, but that's okay too. So at the age of 19, I went to school and I became an officer or a deputy sheriff for the St. Johns County Sheriff's Office. So they gave me a badge and a gun at the age of 19. That's another scary thought. But I served as a patrol deputy, a training officer, a SWAT member, and narcotics detective, violent crimes detective, and the list goes on and on. I served everywhere except with a K-9 and didn't ride a motorcycle. It's about the only two things I did not do. And it was an incredible, exciting career. At the age of 30, even though since birth I was raised in a Christian home, my life, my family, and my job got real boring to me. Even though with all the excitement and the hype, it got boring. And I was really lost and just spiritually at a dead end and going out of control. One day I was hunting in Georgia, where actually one of my sons is at this morning, who is a firefighter. I was hunting in Georgia, and I quickly learned that I was not the one in control of my life. And as I lay at the base of a tree, just about dead from falling out of a tree, things changed for me. But I knew that as I was facing death, several miracles were unfolding. And throughout the incredible pain, there was an incredible peace, that I knew that God had a plan for me, and that if I lived, it was going to be okay. And I knew that the presence of Christ was in my life at that moment more than ever before, even though he was always there. After months of healing and more miracles, that just because I wasn't supposed to return and get back in uniform, I even had one of my chiefs at the time tell me, you won't come back. It's kind of hard, but it was a reality. But God had other plans for that, and he healed me to a point where I could return. And I knew that I had a purpose in my career, not just something to do, not something to respond to, but I had a purpose, that God had a purpose for me. And also had a very target-rich environment. And every encounter with people was an opportunity. And sometimes they were just locked in the back of the car, so it was easy. But everything was an opportunity. I witnessed and walked through many tragic events and a lot of death and destruction. But God made those encounters those were opportunities. He brought things together and put me there for a purpose. Only God could have aligned that. Bobby Dean's here. He's one of our commanders with the sheriff's officer, captains now, I guess I call him. Bobby and I both have walked through and have witnessed and seen some of the most violent murder suspects, rapists, violent criminals you could ever imagine, sitting across the table from them, dealing with the victims of their destruction and the families, and have just seen things that you would never want to see or be a part of or hear things. But we walked through these things, but also we got to guide. I had the opportunity to guide a lot of misled youth. I got an opportunity to help a lot of people that were just making bad decisions. I kid with a lot of the people I take to jail. They think I was kidding with them. I said, the only difference between me and you is you're on one side of the bars, I'm on the other right now. The roles can reverse at any time. And but helping people through these situations and really serving the victims of tragedy and death and the victims and the families that are left over. But on September 11th, I was a youth resource officer, and I was working up at Bartram Trail High School as a supervisor and checking on the deputy there. When, like some people here, I got to find that one or two TVs that were at Bartram at the time. Everybody didn't have cell phones with a TV on them. And watch this tragedy unfold of September 11th and watching the buildings collapse and just wondering just total shock and awe. And I wrote down here that America really just came to an abrupt stop. On that day and the weeks to follow, what was most prevalent, though, was the coming together of America, and everybody, and I believed everybody was turning to God. Some were turning to the true God, but everybody was turning to a God. But some were, like me, were turning to the true God, Jesus Christ. And I wrote in my Bible that day, that afternoon as I went home. My wife was home with the kids, and the kids were starting. Some were coming back home from school. But I wrote in my Bible, I said, a major terrorist attack on New York Trade Center and the Pentagon in Washington. Confusion, fear, and misunderstandings. We are given the privilege today to hold on to our families one more time. We gathered together in prayer to God for guidance, mercy, and forgiveness. We have got to humble ourselves and pray. And then a scripture that I wrote down was Psalm 46, and it says, God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble. Therefore we will not fear, though the earth give way and the mountains fall into the heart of the sea. Though its waters roar and foam and the mountains quake with their surging. There is a river whose streams make glad the city of God, the holy place where the Most High dwells. God is within her. She will not fall. God will help her at break of day. Nations are in uproar. Kingdoms fall. He lifts his voice. The earth melts. The Lord Almighty is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress. Come and see the works of the Lord, the desolations he has brought on the earth. He makes wars cease to the ends of the earth. He breaks the bow and shatters the spear. He burns the shields with fire. Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth. The Lord Almighty is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress. As this should remind us that we are all just naked with our security blankets removed. We're weak and inadequate, but God is ultimately in control. Since that day, all of us have experienced, witnessed, or some are even currently living with situations that could bring us and leave us hopeless. But I'm here to tell you that God is in control. His word is his promise. What I just read to you in Psalm 46 is talking about he's our fortress, he's our rock. He also talks in here about judgment. When he's talking about breaking the bow and shattering the spear, he's talking about the judgment that's going to be upon earth. We're going to see tragedy. It's promised we're going to see and experience and live through tragedy on earth. But God is totally in control, no matter what that tragedy and whatever else is going on. There is no hopelessness in God. He's the rock. As serving as a deputy sheriff for 34 years, I've retired from law enforcement, but I have not retired from service. I have been blessed with the ability to start as a kid and finish with some life left in me and see both ends of the spectrum. I can tell you there's tons of people that are first responders and military that don't see the ending of their career, that don't see how things can be on the other side with a family intact. I've been blessed by that. It's not because I deserved it. My wife will tell you, I tried to run her off. It's pure blessing of God that things are intact. But no matter where you're at, God can finish a good work in you. So I want to speak to, even though I'm retired, and Ted was mad at me because I don't have my uniform, but I'm going to get you a junior deputy badge. I'm going to get you one. He loves police officers. But every day, as Christians, we're called to serve. We're in the service to others and service to the Lord. Ted talks about you can't be wrong with people and right with God. And that is the most simple term, and it agitates and gets under my skin a lot because sometimes I'm wrong with people. But if I'm going to be right with God, I got to get right with people. The gift of salvation can't be bought, borrowed, or earned. Jesus paid it all, and that's as simple as it gets. But as a Christian, you're called to be a disciple and to follow him. That is, to follow him means to walk with him, talk with him, and serve with him. Even though today we recognize and honor first responders, I encourage and challenge you that in the name of Jesus Christ to live out your calling in the place he has you at. You are all first responders. We're all called to be first responders. You may be that first responder answering the call in somebody's life that God's putting in front of you, and you don't fail in that mission. As you'll hear from other testimonies, when the fire comes, run to it. Don't run away from it. To the first responders, I really have a message for you because that's where I feel like I've been blessed to, I've been there, I've done that. So I feel like I'm blessed to tell you this, that don't waste your time doing your job in what you perceive as your own ability, training, and power. We receive in this county some of the best training and best equipment you could ever imagine. But don't find your power in that training and in that equipment. It's easy to impress people with our uniforms, our equipment, and our brotherhood. The fire department has a little tighter brotherhood, I think, because they all get to stay and sleep together. But what does that do for you for eternity if you use only your power to do your jobs as first responders? What does that do for eternity? I'd say call out to Jesus in your life. Lean into him. Talk to him. And you're going to understand this, and I'm looking at each one of you that I know is a first responder. Read his operational orders. They're there. You know exactly what I'm talking about. It is the plan. If you don't have a plan, you're in the middle of a crisis. There's not going to be a good outcome of that. Read his operational orders and discover your true calling in the position that you've been given. Let him fill you with his purpose and power. Your career will go places you could never imagine. I've had conversations, I've had just integrated meetings with people that would have never happened if it wasn't for the presence of God, and seen the outcomes of that. He alone will fill that void that your position or promotion or thrill will never fill. Because I'm telling you, I'm on the other side. I don't get to enjoy kicking doors down and pulling people out of cars and making arrests. I get to watch everybody else do it. I get to live vicariously through a fireman now, 2 firemen. But as broken and sinful as a man that I am, I'm telling you, I am broken and sinful, but the only thing that saves me is Christ. And as broken and sinful as I am as a man, let me be his witness to you that he alone is God, not you. My prayer is that you'll find Jesus Christ as I have and be able to do something more in your career than you've ever been able to do. And I call on you to do that.